Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here because we are live right now on A Better You through prayer and fasting. And we have an incredible guest today that I have been sharing about. We have my incredible friend and producer of this show, Desiree Valdez, here. We started a little late, but that's all right. We're still here, right, Des?
Yeah, yes, we are. We're still here. We are still here.
I mean,
Keeping
we
the
just been
eyes
up.
on Jesus.
You're keeping the eyes on God.
That's right.
Yes, keeping the eyes
Following the
on
way
God.
that that's right.
Praying and praying, and it all works out. So,
Hallelujah.
if anybody is seeing us right now, I'm sorry we are a little bit late, but no matter what, we're here, and I want to bring on this amazing person, Kayla Cox. She's been just a precious being and a totally understanding of everything this morning or this afternoon. And Kayla Cox is from. She has this amazing podcast called Six Miles to Supper. She's got a book called Six Miles to Supper. That's just one book. She's got a lot of books. And she is one of the people that when I was diagnosed and thought I was going to die with diabetes 2, and literally it was just a horrible moment in my life. Well, like 3 days later, I was praying and I found Dr. Jason Fung on YouTube. And it wasn't but a few weeks later after that that I came across this amazing person here. And I'm like, who is this person? I totally relate to her. And it made a big difference. So she became one of the intermittent fasting influencers, as I would call her. She is. She has a lot of people that follow her, and then they just, you know, and she's here with us. So, woohoo! Thank you, Kayla.
Thank you.
Kayla Cox, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm glad that we were able to get it all situated and now we're live. So that's good.
Yeah, this is awesome. Now, Kayla, so about 3 years ago, no, it's actually two something. I was on one of your programs that you have, which I recommend this to everybody. In fact, I like, what do they call it? Binged watched those programs.
Hmm.
Like these people's stories of
Mhm.
their intermittent fasting success stories is what that was. And I knew that God must have been watching over me because I mean, I got to be on that. And it was all just really beginning for me. So people that are watching this show know that it was inspired by, what I feel like God has inspired me to do with my life with this
Hmm.
fasting. So thank you for having me on that show
Sure.
back then. And thank you for being on my other shows. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on today on this new show.
Oh, well, it's an honor to be here, and
Yeah.
and I thank you for coming and sharing your story on my channel too.
Well, talk about how this, I mean, I know it, but talk about how you got into intermittent fasting. I mean, everybody, you can go to her YouTube channels and watch it, all these
Mhm.
stories, or you can read the books too, but she's here to tell us. So why don't we just listen?
Yeah. So let's see about. It's been a while now. So back in 2014, so that was 11 years ago, I was tagged in some Facebook photos and I didn't recognize myself. And so I knew that I needed to lose weight and I needed to do something. And I wasn't sure exactly what to do because I had struggled with my weight my entire life. When I was a kid, I was usually overweight. Sometimes I would lose weight. I'd be on diets all the time, and so I ended up um, about well in 2014 I felt overwhelmed. I kind of felt like I've tried everything, nothing works, and it was really frustrating because I thought I don't get it. I don't get why I struggle and other people don't. My husband, for example, is like skinny guy, never thinks about what he eats, how much he eats, nothing, and if anything has trouble gaining weight, and I'm just like the complete opposite. And so I started researching, just like everything. I was just in this mode of like spending hours and hours and hours researching. And I then heard about intermittent fasting. Like I think I was on a nerd fitness website. Um, and so I was like, okay, well, maybe that would be good, because it said, imagine if every day were Thanksgiving. And so I thought, well, maybe that would work. Like the idea was like, don't eat all day and just have a big meal. Or, like don't think of like eating all day long. Like think of like saving it up for like a short period of time. And I thought, oh, I've done that before. Like, going to a seafood restaurant in the evening when we were kids. Like my parents would be like, "Hey, don't eat a lot today. We're going to the crab leg buffet tonight." So I was like, well, I could do that. Like I feel like that's something I could do, which was so different than like every other diet. Which every other diet is like, don't eat this, don't eat cake, don't eat, whatever. And I knew that never worked for me in the long run. I love cake. I love pasta. I love bread. And I was like, that seems like something I could do. So I started very imperfectly practicing intermittent fasting. Like I was just very bad at it at first, I guess is the best way to describe it. I started out with a very, very short fasting window, like 8 hours. I basically slept through it. I was like, okay, I'm not going to eat past 10 o'clock tonight, because I would just eat all day. I would just like kind of eat all day, just graze, not like huge quantities of food, but I would just like graze all day. I love to eat at night. First thing when I wake up, I would think, okay, it's like most important meal of the day. So it's like, as soon as I get up, I start, eating. And I thought, okay, well, I could stop by 10. I felt like that was doable. And I can maybe eat starting at 6. And so I thought, okay, that's like 8 hours, right? That's like an 8-hour window. And so I did that for a little while. I was like, oh, this is actually easy. I found that very simple. I was like, okay, I can do that for sure. And so then I just started pushing out breakfast a little bit later. I'm talking like 6:30. Like, okay, I'm not going to eat till 6:30. And so I kept pushing it out. And eventually I got to the point where I was like, okay, I can do this, but there was kind of a problem, which was like my coffee. I love to have coffee in the morning, but at that time I was like, I'm not sure, because I don't want to break the fast. So what do I do with the coffee? I don't like black coffee at all. I really hate it, actually. So I was like, okay, what can I do instead? So I thought, okay, I'm gonna let myself just have the coffee with it. Then I actually had coffee with cream and sugar, but eventually I switched over to just half and half and coffee. But so I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep pushing my window. So I just kept slowly pushing it out. And so that first year, like I said, I was just bad at being consistent with things. Like I just quit a lot. Like I would get in a really big rush. I thought, I'm obese. I mean, at that time I was 222 pounds. I finally got on the scale in 2015. And so I got on the scale, and when I saw 222 pounds, I mean, that meant I was obese. Like I'm 5'6", so I was obese. And I was like, I should be losing so much faster. That was my mindset in 2015. Like I should be losing this weight so quickly because I'm working out so hard. And I felt like I was doing a lot of hard work, but the fact was I was just eating too much still, and I was not being consistent. That was the other thing. Like I was eating too much food plus not being consistent. And mainly the times where I was eating too much food, it was because I would be practicing intermittent fasting and I'd be losing like a pound a week. But then I was like, that's not fast enough. I'm failing because I'm not going fast enough. So I need to make it harder. So I would like quit intermittent fasting to like figure out, a different plan. And so then it would end up being, I would end up overeating because I didn't really have a plan. So I was just kind of like going back to those old patterns of just kind of grazing and all that kind of thing. And so finally, though, in January of 2016, I I decided just like I'm going to be really consistent. I'm going to focus on being really, really consistent with this plan. And I was okay with slow results, and I lost about a pound a week. And so by the end of 2016, I had gotten down to my first goal weight, which was 158. So is that kind of that was a long-winded answer, I realize.
No, no, but that, I mean, isn't that the way it is? I mean, like when you're on this journey, it's like, how many
Right.
years is it going to take to figure this
Right.
out? You
Yeah.
know, I mean, like I think, and so I know you're younger than me, but do you think that do you think that as you, when you were younger, because I know, I mean, I think up till just, I don't know, maybe about 8 years ago, I think weight just, I could get it off and on fairly easy. But it seems like, I don't know if that is a part of it, or I really think the intermittent fasting kind of cuts right through that, though.
Yeah. I think one thing I learned because I always struggled with my weight, even when I was young, like I struggled. And so it was funny because in hindsight, back when I was, I've had enough moment that happened in 2014. So I would have been, I was 29 when it happened, but I was turning 30. And so I kept hearing constantly like, oh, shoo, once you turn 30, like you can't lose weight, like it's impossible. And so I had it in my mindset was like, oh no, it's going to be really, really hard now that my metabolism has,
Right.
slowed down so much, because obviously when you turn 30, I kept hearing that, over and over. And luckily during that time I was listening to a lot of like personal development kind of material. My husband was in sales, and so like Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, like all these guys who are all about mindset, Tony Robbins, and the thing that I kept hearing over and over, it was not about weight loss, it was just about mindset. And it was all about like, look, never tell yourself like you're too old, it's, I'm struggling, it's too late, and so I just was like, okay, I've got to be really good about my mindset, not thinking like this is too, it's too late, or my metabolism is going to make it impossible. Because the self-fulfilling prophecy thing is a thing. Like if you say to yourself it's going to be really hard and I won't be able to do it because my metabolism, my age, and that's not to say that I don't think it's more difficult in different stages of life, because like particularly like right now, like, so back when I was 30, I had young kids, right? And so there was that kind of thing going on. But these days there are different things going on in my life that I think do make weight loss a lot harder. For example, so I'm 40 now, just for context for people who don't know how old I am. I'm 40 now, and I'm almost 41. So the way my life is different now, like one major thing is I have lost so many people around me in the past several years. Like my father-in-law, he had dementia and Parkinson's disease, and then he passed away. My papa, he passed away. My granny, she passed away. My dad got esophageal cancer, and he passed away last year. I mean, it's just been a time, the past, say, 5 years have just been this time of tremendous loss for me. And the emotional side of weight loss is a thing. I mean, it's like, I would say, like, when I really like sit down and think about it, that's the thing that really makes, I think, weight loss hard, is the emotional side of life. Like, for my, age right now, I have kids that are starting to become adults now, and they're starting to, like, they're needing to, move on and create their own lives. And that's very difficult, as a mom. It's like, oh, you gotta let go of that. So like, I think that's one reason why a lot of women struggle when they're going through menopause. I'm sure the hormonal aspect is a thing. Like, I don't deny that at all. But I think one thing that is not talked about nearly enough is all these emotional things that you're having to deal with, like these changing relationships. It's good, yes, but it's also very stressful, and it's hard to figure out, like, how do you navigate this situation with your, almost adult kid or with your adult kid? And, like, it's just a lot. And so I think there's just a lot to weight loss, that it does not always come down to just the calories. I mean, the calories are important and calories absolutely count, but I just mean that looking at the whole picture of your life, I think, is just really important.
Oh my gosh, I totally. In fact, I always try to bring that up during the show about the emotional aspects of food, and I'm so sorry for all of the loss that you have had. I've been there with you because I've watched your videos, and I know it's very. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate
I
it.
know, yeah, and I know Des has. She's gone through a lot of loss too with her family lately, and but you're right, because that is a really great perspective. Because when we do get to that age where they start to go to their own lives, we are also hitting an age where there is some changes in our, our both men and women. I do believe, but I think probably more women. So that is really a great point, and it should be discussed. So thank you for sharing that. So how did you find your way through that? How did you
Well,
make it through these? How are you making it through
yeah,
this?
that is a good question. No, well, one thing I'm really grateful that I did learn so much about intermittent fasting before all of this happened, because it gave me a lot of tools. Like, for example, emotional eating. If you had asked me when I was obese, are you an emotional eater? I would have been like, nah, I'm not. I just eat when I'm hungry. So I'm not really an emotional eater. I would say to you probably, like, I think everybody does from time to time, but I'm no different than anybody else.
Right.
But when I started intermittent fasting and started being consistent, that's really the main point. Like, when I started being really consistent, meaning I would not break early, I started to see how there were so many times where the reason I would go want a snack was not because I was actually hungry. It was because I was upset about something. I'm bored, or I'm angry, or I'm sad, or I'm happy even. Like, or I'm just wanting to, have some fun. So I'm going to, like, sit down, have a snack, and watch a movie or something like that. And so the process of becoming really consistent with intermittent fasting, getting good at intermittent fasting, I started to see, like, whoa, I really am an emotional eater. And so then I had to, like, start to be suspicious of myself when I want a snack. Like, if I ever, like, start having that, like, oh, I'd like a snack, that's usually a red flag for me. Like, actually, something's going on. You're upset about something, probably. And so that was very well ingrained for me, like, these habits that I have. Because so by the time 2016 was done, I was, like, at my goal weight. And so I decided to maintain for like a year. And during that time of maintenance, I was, sometimes I would do intermittent fasting. Sometimes I would just wouldn't. I would just, because I wanted to see, like, well, what does my life need to look like in maintenance? And what I saw during that time of, like, experimenting with it was that habit of wanting to snack was still very much there. Like, it was just like, it was still this thing with me. And so I started to really understand that about myself. Like, okay, if you're wanting to snack a lot, it probably means you're upset. And so fast forward to, these past, say, since like 20, I guess it's 2020. That was when all the, all the loss really started to happen. I just, I so, I knew myself pretty well by that point. And I knew, like, okay, you need to really watch this tendency you to have to either eat snacks, but also to just eat for emotional reasons. And it's tough because everybody eats, right? Like, I mean, you don't get to, I mean, you can do like a complete fast, but eventually you got to eat, And so if you're going through a hard time and you are an emotional eater, they're just going to, like, so I eat one meal a day. Like, that's my chosen plan. I love that. That's most days, that's what I'm doing. But I do have to sit down, even on a very upsetting day. I have to sit down with that food, and so I know that about myself. Like you have this tendency when you're upset to eat more. So just being aware of that and trying to stay very present and mindful of it, that was helpful. Certainly, also the spiritual benefits that I derived from fasting, like learning how to like, okay, I'm upset right now. And so what I used to do back when I would just emotionally eat is I would just eat. But when you're not doing that, when you're fasting, you have to figure out what are you going to do instead. And so many times I would find myself praying about what I was upset about, which is the right thing to do. If you're upset, you should pray. You should not be stuffing your face. So that's what I learned. And so when all of these terrible things did happen, I did feel like I was more prepared, like because I had done this for years at this point of fasting and praying, and we started going to church. I'd always considered myself a Christian, but we started going to church back in 2021. And so that was very helpful too, because I became an Orthodox Christian, which there's an important part of that is to have a prayer rule, meaning you have certain times of the day that you pray, and it's like it's not negotiable. Like you're committed to doing it. Not to say that you're perfect, because you're never going to be perfect. Like I don't want anyone to think like, oh, she's perfect. She never like deviates. I totally forget sometimes. Like I space out, and it's like, whoa, it's 5 o'clock. What happened to 3 o'clock? I'm supposed to pray the rosary, and it happens. But that was very, very, very helpful too. So.
Wow. And I can feel Desiree, because Desiree is on a real rigid prayer schedule. Desiree, would you share what your thoughts are right now after hearing all this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm learning that. That's something new to me. So I just about my walk, recently born again, with the spirit. I was a Buddhist,
Mhm.
for 30 years. I mean, I've been in my own different, which we now I know is called the wilderness for 30 years. Okay. But I wasn't lost. It was in preparation. So anyhow, right. So anyhow, what you're just telling me, I understand Orthodox. My family comes from Roman Catholic.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And so I went through as a kid, was at the catechism, the everything you're supposed to do. I'm from LA, Chicana background, it's just the culture of how it is. So anyhow, aside from that, but after being born again, um, and born of the Spirit, I would hear in prayer a voice, and it would be here, and it would convict me, as I understand, and it would say pray. And so I was like, okay, and submit, like your knees fall, it's so I was like, oh, pray. And my prayer is the Lord's Prayer, that's my
Yeah.
and so
Mm-hmm.
it's scripture. I'm grounded. It's what Jesus told me, so I'm good. So
Yes.
the Lord's prayer, I'm like in that thing. So anyhow, that's it. And then I journal. I've been writing like my whole life since I've been a kid, and so in that time, I would notate times that this would happen because I'm journaling my whole everything that's happening to me. It's like, oh, I'm hearing this voice. Like, I don't know what this is, and it's at 9 a.m. I use military time, so it'd be like 900 hours. It'd be like at 1200 hours, 1500 hours, 1800 hours, 2100 hours, 0 hours. Okay, I don't believe in things, but I recognize patterns, and so all of a sudden something I'm just like. I'm getting dreams and revelations during these times. I'm getting like these encounters and whatnot. And so I'm like, oh, these certain times are significant. And that's this Holy Spirit and Spirit of truth, that's real. And so I saw how it's like my eyes, or I was just taken on this trip. And in the Bible, showing the hours and the significant.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
This
awesome.
is a person. myself that did not read the Bible.
Mhm.
Okay. What I knew was just like what people know sometimes. I used to call them bumper sticker scriptures. They were
Uh-huh.
motivational, because like I say, I was Buddhist or whatever. So to me, it was just like, oh yeah, that's good. I'm
Mhm.
gonna TM that. But the truth is that I've always believed in Jesus Christ.
Mhm.
That was all. I never denied that. Even as in other things, I was like, oh yeah, I believe that. That's possible. But I was just looking for something or whatever, something else. Another story, another time. Anyhow, so these are the hours
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
obedience that I pray. I pray every 3 hours now, ever since of that time, because one, I hear it.
Mhm.
Two, I am kind of like, I don't know, there's like something that just pulls me, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And there is something that happens, all of a sudden I will speak and words and things come to me and I'm just like, where'd that come from? And I'll look at my watch and I was like, wow, it's like 14:59 or like 1500, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna definitely get, because everything we do, we're supposed to pray. So I pray
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
everything.
Before every
And
task.
so,
Yeah.
amen. Yes. Everything, I take it straight to prayer because of testing the spirit also as well. So everything I test, it doesn't even matter. Although, I mean, after a while, you just know, but still,
Right.
I'm just being obedient because I was like, well, God, you said that. So I'm just making sure,
Right. Yeah.
I'm that person. So, anyhow, sorry to take so much time with that, but just to go off of what you're saying, is somebody who's just, I believe you, and wow, I did not know that that was a practice in, would you said Orthodox
Uh-huh.
Christianity?
Yes.
I,
Yeah,
I
that's awesome.
believe it.
I didn't know that either.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
Yeah.
is that
That's,
why they do it? Is that why they do that? Because of
that,
those hours?
I mean, yeah, the praying the hours is a thing, and it's obviously encouraged. The more you can pray, the better, and really to be in constant prayer.
Yeah, right.
There's also a thing called the Jesus prayer that we do, which is just, it's a very simple prayer, but it's Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner, and you just,
Oh, cool.
when you're just, if you're worried about something, I
Right,
mean,
right, right.
just really that the name of Jesus is just very powerful.
It's so true, though. I mean, sorry, you got me excited, but it's so true.
yeah,
People
yeah.
really need to understand and believe in prayer. It is so powerful. And like, we can prove it scientifically, we could prove it metaphysically, we could prove it spiritually. However, you want it served, because it's the truth.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it really, really is. And
Mhm.
so, that's awesome. Wow. I believe in the power of prayer. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, me
So,
too.
so Kayla, we also like I think the end of the month is coming soon, eventually. But so we do like I do a very every first Sunday, and so I think since I met you, I did talk about that before back then. But how do you feel about prayer and fasting together? Since we were just talking about that, I know you just mentioned, but how do you feel about how joining together in prayer and fasting could help our nation or help our families and communities?
Well, I mean, certainly in the Bible, that was a thing. The nation would fast. Like when they realized we've messed up, that was like they would sackcloth and ashes and fasting, and it's a thing about repentance. Saying, hey,
Mm.
we're wrong and we're sorry, and it's a way to, it's a sacrifice. When you don't eat food and you pray instead. I mean, you are exercising your will over your body. You're kind of making it submit. And I think it's a great idea to do that. Actually, when you're saying that, it reminds me of something that our priest talks about, which is if you're not going to pray more when you're fasting, then don't fast. They call it the demon's fast, actually. If you are fasting, but you
Uh-huh.
don't pray more, because it's just a time of, you are weakening yourself and to a spiritual kind of
That's true.
plane. And so if you're going to be fasting, you need to be praying. And that
Wow.
was something I had no idea. Before I started going to church, I was like, I just thought, I would just naturally pray more, because it was like I have this thing, I need to deal with it, and I can't eat. I can't think of how else to feel better, so I'll pray. And so I'm glad that I landed on that, because apparently I was like kind of putting myself in a dangerous position.
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I had not heard that. I
Mhm.
I have not heard that. Wow, but so yeah, so I feel like that's what I do. I mean, that's why
Mhm.
we're promoting this. This is part of this show. It's part of my book. It's to
Mhm.
promote that. And thank you so much for spearheading that amazing information out.
Yeah,
It
sure.
just makes it so much like more real to me. Like,
Mhm.
it's like you do things because you're doing them, but there's
Mhm.
actually a higher purpose, and that is like that's really the higher purpose.
For sure. I
Wow.
mean, think about when Jesus fasted 40 days,
Mhm.
Satan came to him and tempted him. And so I think that's like kind of like another kind of shows you, like, if you're going to be fasting, you're inviting opposition. And so pray. Yeah.
So
Now,
true.
when people talk to you, because you've had all these people, what I know we should share about the groups that you have. I mean, you put it together where you help people. They can, on your website where you kind of
Mhm.
have groups. Talk about that a little.
Mhm.
Well, yeah. So I've done different things over the years, but I do have a members group on YouTube, so people can join my channel, and I do like a live Q&A, and I also do private coaching and stuff for weight loss specifically, and so it's just a way for people to kind of get together and talk. I've done other things over the years, and I've just like Facebook groups and stuff. I've never been able to get that right balance, because for me, social media, I found over time. Well, actually, back in the day when I was just losing weight, before I had a YouTube channel, all that stuff, I started to see that social media was really not good for me. Like, I know for some people it's great, but for me, it was just like I would get upset. I found myself like I had heard, I think, a tip somewhere along the way of like, after you've done something, you should ask yourself, did that make me feel better? Like, did it improve my life? Or was it like neutral, or did it make my life worse? And so I would do that. Like, after I would be on Facebook, I would think, okay, like, am I glad I did that? Was that good for me? Was that, did it make my life better, neutral, or worse? And too many times it was negative. It was like, that actually increased my stress level. It made me angry, you know and I learned later on that that's actually like a thing Facebook does, and
Mhm.
different things, like they program it to try to get you to react. They will literally show you things so that you'll get angry, so that you'll be more engaged with the platform, so that you'll stay on longer. And so like, it's hard though, because there's this other aspect to social media, which is you can connect with people who are like-minded from all over the world, and it's like a miracle, so it's very, very hard. But I could just never get that right balance for me. So I haven't been on Facebook in years and years. I deleted my Facebook a long time ago. I technically have one, but it's only so I can be a part of this like one buy sell trade group. And so I have no friends on there, so don't ask to be my friend. Um, but my life got better when I got off social media, and so when I started my YouTube channel, that's the main advice. Like, oh, you have to have a Facebook page, you got to have a Instagram, and you got to have and so I tried that for a while. I had like an Instagram, I had a good bit of followers, but it was not good for my soul, I think. And I think that's a very individual thing. I think some people it works great, and for me though, it just didn't. I just found myself like feeling worse instead of better. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just not cut out for social media. But yeah, that's what I do now. So
Well, it's pretty amazing too, because the fact is that you are considered a real YouTube fasting, intermittent fasting influencer, and you don't have a lot of social media except for YouTube. So
yeah.
that just shows you. I mean, it's like you're actually a real person, because I've watched a lot of those different shows, and I always come back to yours
Oh,
because
thanks.
it's like real information for real people, and it really works.
Yeah.
So I really like that. And it's not, it's like one of your philosophies is what's your laid back way of doing this. So, like with the cream and that's every day when I decide I want coffee in the morning, I'm like, just drink it black. Or, I have this conversation all the time. And I'm like, damn it. I mean, I like black tea, but
Mhm.
but I can just drink that, and if I just sip it, I'm really good. Or black coffee, and then I am not hungry. But then there's that part of me that still wants a little sweet or something. But watching yours, I'm like, you know what? She's right.
Mhm.
She's right. I can do that if I do this, this, and this. It works.
Right.
I will lose weight. It's only usually for me. I've realized lately if I stop eating at 5, no, if I have my window, whether it's 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, one meal, as long as I stop eating at 5, between 5 and 6, I always lose weight.
Mhm.
So it's very interesting. So it's if I skip and I go a little bit further, if I eat or if I'm emotionally eating or whatever,
Right.
which I have had those issues for sure.
Mhm.
But I do find it interesting. So I believe also that it's a myth in a way about how old if we get older,
Mhm.
because it seems to me that it really works as long as I follow the protocol.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do follow, and it's honestly it's shocking to me how you're not hungry. The more days you do this, you just become not
Yeah.
hungry. You have more energy.
Mhm.
It's amazing. It's really the way our body is supposed to work.
Yeah.
Now, do you agree with that? Do you both agree with how that kind of works? I know we've talked about that before with eating at night. It makes a different situation with our body processing.
Yeah, I think too. For me, at least, decision making ability just goes down and down and down the later it gets. So so I think that's probably for me. Like that's why I would do better generally. Like if I'm not eating late into the night, just because it's just easier to overeat or not pay attention or just eat that one more serving. What difference does it make at this point? So
Well, do you still have the one day off a week where
I
you
do.
take your
Yeah,
Sunday off? This is
I've
a great,
always done
great
that. Mhm.
concept. So share with that how you do that because I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. So back in 2016, one thing I noticed about intermittent fasting, it would work so well. Like I was just like, this works so well in my life until Sunday morning. So Sunday morning, my husband would make, it was like this thing, this tradition we had. He would make homemade pancakes from scratch, just so good. And he did it as like this act of service to his family. It was a nice tradition. And so intermittent fasting would be so good, so good, so good. But then we would have pancake breakfast. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? Because this doesn't work with intermittent fasting. But I want to have this time with my family. I want to eat also. Furthermore, I want the pancakes. so, so it's like, okay, so how is this going to work? And so because I would try to do it different ways. I would try to like sit there with just coffee. Well, that doesn't work. I would try to like just eat a little bit, just a tiny little bit. And then I'd be like, well, then that doesn't really work either. And then it still would feel like, but I've broken the fast anyway. So what difference does it make, and then just go eat. So I was like, okay, I gotta like make a plan that works with this. So I said, okay, Sunday's my day off. Like I was already taking Sundays off of work. Like that was a very strict rule for me, like no working on Sunday. I was like, okay, so just no fasting on Sunday. And that worked great. Like it was like, I always took a day off. So that meant for me, like I always, every single day of the week, from the time I started losing weight until now, I eat whatever. So I have no rules about like, I don't need to be low carb. I don't need to like, I don't count calories. I believe calories count, but I don't count calories. And so I was just like, I just want uh, a plan that will just work. So I was like, okay, so Monday through Saturday, eat whatever I want, but do the intermittent fasting. But then Sunday, no fasting and still eat whatever I want. So like no restriction on food or anything, but just, like in general, my rule, if you want to like get it down to its essence is don't overeat, like just don't overeat. So I did that and that worked great. Like until we started going to church. so, um, so I think with Orthodox Christians is we fast for communion is very important. This is like a strict thing, like you just don't eat before communion. So I'm like, okay, now we're going to church on Sunday, and and we have coffee hour after that, and so that's like a snack, like a people bring members of the church will bring, baked goods or chip dip, that kind of thing, and we eat after church together. It's just a nice time of fellowship. I was like, well, I definitely want to eat then, so I want to partake there, but I'm going to be fasting. So I was like, but it's not like a one meal a day kind of a day. So what am I going to do with that? Because I was like, I've already had this plan. I know it works, but how am I going to do this? So I was like, okay. So I kept Sunday as just like a day to just eat. And I would fast and I still do this. Like I will fast from the time I get up until communion. And so I break my fast with communion, which I think is a great way to break your fast. But and then after that we'll do coffee hour. And then when I come back home, a lot of times we'll have like, weekend food. It's just kind of like whatever's left over in the fridge. I don't like to really do a lot on Sunday. So that's usually what my eating looks like on Sunday. But I still had the pancake breakfast to figure out, because I was like, we have this pancake breakfast. And my husband still wanted to do it, but we're like, okay, it's going to be on Saturday. So I was like, okay, great. Now this whole thing again, like where I got to figure it out. Like, what's the thing? So what I ended up doing, and I experimented different ways. I was like, well, does it need to just be both days or just days off, or how's it going to work? What ended up working best for me was just to make it a 2 meal a day thing. So I do breakfast and supper on Saturday, and then Sunday is just my day off. But of course there is that bit of fasting. So it's like, it's not a whole lot of fasting really. I mean, compared to like OMAD, it's like hardly anything for me, but I would say probably, I'm taking communion around probably 11 or so, just to kind of like, because I know that people get curious about that. Well, how late is it in the day? So I'd say about 11 is when I take communion. And then I would say like probably coffee hour starts around 11:30. And like I said, I'll eat whatever at coffee hour, and then throughout the time. So
That's so funny.
Life changes. I mean, that's the thing. Like with weight loss, like, you might have a plan and it works great, and then life can sometimes change. And then I think that's the great thing about having a laid back attitude. Is like you'll figure it out. Like if you just decide for yourself, like I can figure this out. Anything that comes along, I can change. If I need to change a thing, I can change it. And it's just about experimenting with what works, and then then getting consistent with that once you find out what works.
Wow. So it's so funny about the pancake breakfast, because you talk about that on your videos a lot. It's like, oh no, it switched to Saturday. That must have been like,
It really was like, oh man, I know it. I know I gotta do this.
Gotta have my pancakes.
Actually, I just realized this as we're talking about. That was also coinciding, like us starting to go to church, also definitely coincided with all the different loss and stuff that I was experiencing. Like my father-in-law, he had dementia and Parkinson's, and so at one point I was helping a bit with his care, and so that was another thing too. Like I'm over there at his house, he's wanting to eat, I don't want him to eat alone. So, okay, we're going to, so it was another thing of like trying to figure out, like, okay, how is this going to work with intermittent fasting and, like keeping my weight in check in maintenance, or, if I'm trying to lose more, trying to lose, so it's a process, and it's never perfect, but,
I mean, hearing that, so that I know, like I said, I've watched the videos for so long now, and I know that you actually moved closer over there to be with them. And so let's just dive a little deeper here on how is God helping you, and how do you feel about God, and how you've changed your life and created your life now with God.
Yeah, I'm very blessed. I am not perfect, and I am like so unworthy of everything he's given me. But this has definitely been a change I've noticed since starting to go to church. And I think the prayers that I've learned and the prayer rule that I have, it has made such a difference in my life. Before I started, like from the time I was a kid, and I still have this tendency, but certainly from the time I was a kid until the time I started going to church, I was a worry wart. I would worry constantly. I don't know if anxious is the right word or whatever, just constant worry about everything. Like my mind, for whatever reason, usually goes to the worst case scenario. Like anything happens, like, oh, somebody's 5 minutes late. Oh, they must have gotten in a car accident, like that kind of like worry. And actually, once I started the YouTube channel, there were times where, I mean, there was a whole period of time where I was waking up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and just worrying, and my prayers back then were a lot of rumination. Like it was more me just worrying out loud as opposed to really seeking to worship God and to thank God and to have faith. It's just, I don't know if that makes sense or not, but the prayers of the church, like you can pray certainly just from your mind, and that is totally fine. That is like welcome. But there's also like written prayers also, and I have found those so helpful because it's like they kind of center me in the right frame of mind. Like, your will, God, not mine, your will. And by constantly like thinking of it in the right way of like, God's in control and he's got this. And, I just need to trust, that has been, very helpful. And, I do feel closer to God through this whole process. More, and I feel less worried. I'm not going to claim that I do not worry or that my mind doesn't still do that thing where it just like, it goes to that, like that worst case scenario. But I've learned to kind of like recognize that and be like, okay, that's how you do, but that's not the right way to do it. so, just trying my best to like reel myself back in and pray, just like getting in that habit of like, if you feel worried, go to the prayer corner and pray. Like, stop worrying about it. Just go pray. And so that's how it's changed for me.
That's interesting. You go to a prayer corner, so you have a specific place kind of in your home that you actually pray at, not just like at your desk.
Yeah, I mean, you can pray anywhere, obviously, and I do. I pray, in my bed, in my car, at my desk, on my walks. But we do have a dedicated area in our house, and this is an Orthodox thing. I don't know if Catholics also do it, but it's a place where we have icons on the wall, and we have a little thing for incense and a candle, and it's just like holy water, just like a little table that has all that stuff, and it's just it's nice to have like a little place set aside to say, go pray, so.
I love that. Now,
Yeah.
so back but in the day, I would have that type of thing, but it was before I had, it was like an altar with the other, all the Buddhism and things like that. So I love that's part of, I want to make something like that and have a special area.
Yeah.
So you were just talking about praying and walking. What I think the story about how you named the book 6 Miles to Supper is very interesting. Could you share that?
Yeah. So technically, the name of the book is The Laid Back Guide to Intermittent Fasting.
Sorry.
It's okay. No, I just don't want people to like search for the book and be like, that's not a book. Like the book. The book looks like.
I have your book. And I don't know why. Sorry.
No, it's totally fine. But the name of my channel and the name of my website and the name of my podcast, like all those things are 6 Miles to Supper. And so that was just my little attempt to try to be clever, because the thing that really worked for me to help me lose weight at the end of the day was I walked 6 miles a day and I ate once a day, and I would eat supper. So 6 miles to supper, so that's just kind of that's what that means, but
Oh, well,
yeah.
I'm so sorry I had that confused because
That's okay.
I definitely bought the book and I love that book. And
Yeah.
so
Oh, thank you.
that's really, yeah. So do you still walk 6 miles? I know that you even walk at night. So if you wake up, say you would walk, just do your steps inside.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, going back to the idea of just getting consistent with stuff. Like, I used to be the type of person who was like, I'm going to start running 3 miles a day every day, and I'm never going to not do that. And I would just like get out there and do it. And then eventually, though, I would miss a day, and then I would just quit completely because like I'm not perfect, and I would just like throw my arms up in the air and quit. And so I decided, well, actually, I had started in 2015. I was going to a gym, and I was like being really consistent. I would go every day and I would do some kind of exercise. And eventually, what I found I really loved was powerlifting, like lifting weights and stuff. And I did that for a while, and I was getting pretty strong. But again, I was in a big hurry that year. And when I was doing a deadlift, I did it with poor form and I hurt my back. And so at that point, the only exercise that I could do that did not hurt was to walk. It was like that was the only thing I could do. I just couldn't do anything else. And I thought, okay, I don't think that's going to work, because I was under the impression at that point, like you have to be working out hard and like eating nothing in order to lose weight. Like that was just like the way my mindset was. But I was like, well, all I can do is walk. So I had heard, like 10,000 steps a day. That was good. And then I also read this article. I don't know the article. I don't know even the trainer that was talking about it, but there was like a celebrity trainer. She's like, I tell all of my clients to move 3 miles a day, like run or walk or whatever. I was like, okay, like if I double that, then surely I'll lose weight, since all I'm doing is walking. I was like, all right. So I figured out on my Fitbit, that's 14,000 steps. I was like, so that's more than the 10,000, but I thought it needs to be more. That's what I thought back then. So I started walking 6 miles a day, and I loved it so much. Like my walks were a time to pray. It was like it was all working together. It was like walking gave me something to do other than eat, and then because I had been so consistent with my walking, I had already like put in the 6 miles. Then it felt like, well, I need to keep the fasting going, like be consistent with that. So it worked off of each other so well. And then the praying then helped me not be upset anymore a lot of times about the thing. And I would get my thinking right on it. And so then I wasn't as stressed out. So I wasn't needing to, or I wasn't feeling the need to eat as much, because like my stress levels were lower and I was just feeling better about life. So it's like, and so then my results were more consistent. So it was like all these things were just working together so well. And so I just kept with that plan. I was like, all right, I'm just going to walk and fast, and that's what I'm going to do. And so there you go, 6 miles to supper.
So great.
Wow.
And I know so you're so inspiring, and you're so positive and easy to talk to. One of the questions I have is, what do you recommend for people that have never, like I know we've shared here, but what would you recommend how a person should start off if they've never done this before, intermittent fasting?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, go really slowly with it. Like, just, it's okay. Like, let yourself get good at it. And that your pace might be slower than mine, or it might be faster than mine. But one thing that happens a lot of times, people want to go really aggressively, like I'm going to go right to 1 meal a day, or, and I think it's better to just say, okay, what can you do right now? Like, look at what your life looks like right now at this moment. How often are you eating? Do you already have like kind of a fasting window to build on? Maybe you do. Some people are like, I don't eat breakfast until 10. It's like, okay, well, like make that a rule then. Like, I don't eat breakfast till 10. And then whatever time you want to set as your cutoff time. And then that's your first window. and then see, can you do that for a week? Like, can you just consistently do that window? And if it feels good, then push it out. Like, just go slow. Just like maybe add 30 minutes, maybe an hour if you're feeling, a little aggressive. And then just like, you can build on it. And what so many people do is like they try to just jump in, and it feels so hard. But it was going to feel a lot easier if you just kind of go gradually. Just go gradually, and you'll get much better results if you can just be consistent. Like, consistency over time makes you a better faster, instead of doing that thing where it's like high expectations and then it's really hard and it's like, oh, I could never do that fasting thing because I did it, like I tried it for a week and man, it was the most miserable time of my life. It's like, well, if you go gradual, it's kind of like that analogy of the frog in the boiling water. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, if you put it in the boiling water, it's just going to jump right out. But if you just put it in some nice tepid water and then turn up the heat, it will boil itself to death. Which is not good. But I'm just saying, like, that idea, just letting yourself like slowly adjust. It's just so much easier. I think it's so much better when you just go slowly. And it is an adjustment. I mean, you have to look around you. Most people are just eating all day long around you. And it's very easy if the people around you are doing that. It's very hard to do something different than what is going on around you. And I think that's the thing that people really underestimate, is how difficult it is. So if you can just give yourself that space to get good at it very slowly and gradually, you'll have that ability then to be like, no, I'm fasting right now. It's no big deal. Like, you get good at it, and then it's easy to say, nah, not right now. But if you're just trying to like do it all of a sudden, all at once, it's going to be very, very difficult in my experience.
That's so true. Like, now in my household, it's such a habit. Like, everybody has, we have our meals that we'll eat together, but now it's like, they know I have my way and I don't want to eat this time. So I don't have to I can make dinner early. And if I want to make dinner for everybody, and then it's there so they can eat later, but I'm not going to eat later. So it's like, but boy, originally it was very difficult to get our patterns, especially with Joe, because he, chips every day and all of his certain foods that he ate, which now he's eating more. Like, instead of chips, really, he eats very little of those, and he's eating vegetables. So he has a much more healthier lifestyle. But it's like we've slowly progressed into this to where I love that you mentioned that, because I think that's the hardest that you'll see people talk about. Like, well, my family is eating and I'm not able to. So I think you're right. I think taking it slow, and I love the fact that I don't have to say, I have to give up all this food. Like, I will go and eat. If I want to have something during my window, I will. But generally, I will try to have something real healthier. But if there is something and I want to eat it during my window, I will eat it, and I can still lose weight.
Right.
Yeah, and I believe that, like Dr. Fung mentions this a lot. Like, calories in, calories out. Calories matter, but a lot of people can say, well, I'm going to eat this many calories a day, but if you're going to eat like 3 pieces of chocolate cake to make up your 1,200 calories, it could be 1,200 calories for 3 pieces of cake. Well, it's better if you don't do that and use those calories for something like a high protein or vegetables, because your body reacts to it differently, right? So it doesn't, a lot of these people don't want to say, like, they always want to fight about the calories, but truly, if you are eating like high fat calories, and it's still the same. Your body is not going to understand it as if it would be a healthier situation. Now, I do find that when I do stick to a protein veggie, and I'm really kind of really rigid, or I guess I have to say rigid, I really make myself do that, and I make it healthy, yummy, because it could be yummy. Eggs with veggies and stuff like that's yummy. If I stick with that, I just feel less hungry too. Like, even through it really helps my body to where I sustain like the next time I'm fasting, then I'm like not even hungry. So
Mhm.
I do find that matters. What about when you, if you ever stuck to more of a protein veggie type thing, or do you just always kind of still be versatile?
I find I do best when I'm just versatile because I think it's just because my whole life there was that restriction mindset. And so if I try to do that, like where it's like, oh, but you can't really have cake, you can't really do that. Like then I start to feel restricted and then I end up eating more. And
Yeah.
it's like, so what it's a weird thing. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but for me, what works is to say you can have whatever you want. And then I end up eating more of those things, like just like broccoli. It's like, oh, I love roasted broccoli. I love, and so it's to me, it's like know yourself well and whatever works. Because some people are like, no, I can't do that. That doesn't work for me. It's like, okay, well, like, but for me, I just know that like there's this rebellion that starts to happen. Like, oh no, like if I can't have my chocolate cake, well then I'm going to eat way more of that, quote unquote healthy thing, and I'll end up eating too many calories, and so then that's not good. So I just say, have whatever you want, and then I end up eating a better mix of food, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you've never had diabetes or any blood results, like,
Mm-mm,
so I
no.
think that's what the difference is with when I figured this out for myself, is because I didn't even know what insulin was really. I mean, like, what does that mean? I mean, I thought I just didn't understand, but I even monitored it with a one of those things that they can monitor it with, and I was like, wow. But if I would put cinnamon or different things
Mhm.
on something, or apple cider vinegar with
Right.
something,
Mhm.
it would lower that. So I
Right.
do, it's one of the things I have to watch. So if I
Right.
do something high insulin, then it can stall my weight loss. But
Mhm.
if I do that, but I could still eat, I could still do whatever. But a lot of times I do kind of think of it that way for
Right.
myself, because I've seen the results with my blood sugar, and
Sure.
I don't want that to come back again. So
Right. Yeah.
like
Definitely not.
start of it. But if I didn't before I had that, I think that's why
Mhm.
before I didn't have that problem. But
Mhm.
since I did it, it was much easier. But
Yeah.
yeah, this has
Right.
been a very good show.
I agree.
Very interesting. I love that we are all able to share about prayer, because a
Yes.
lot of times on these shows, they're, I don't know, and I don't really know, but they're not mentioning that.
Hmm.
And I think it's really important to mention that, because
Right.
like you just mentioned, oh my gosh, if we are fasting, we better darn well be praying,
Right.
because we don't want any more openings,
Right.
oh, I bet you we have a question from Desiree. Do you have any questions before we go?
Oh, questions.
Yeah, to her.
I know. I mean, like I was digesting and just appreciating and enjoying it all. I agree with a lot of what you're saying, and you know what? It was very good. Thank you for breaking off some of that bread about the praying and the what you call it, or they call the demon prayer. I could
Demon.
definitely see how that could. I can see that.
Yeah.
It makes man people got to pay attention. It's always
Right.
in the details,
Right.
Wow.
and
Yeah.
so, yeah, you gotta fill your house,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
so, absolutely, and we should always be praying. I think, so thank you so much for just enlightening, and, I got, like, my cheeks hurt because, it's just like, I got such a big smile, and so, yeah, it's been totally awesome, just super awesome. Thank
And we
you.
thank you. And then we have had some wonderful people on our chats. Even though we were late, we still had Lorraine, we have Vincent, we have Overbuilt Automotive, who is in Europe.
Mhm.
And he
Ah.
has, yeah, so he's come here. And then we've got Lorraine, Vincent.
Par Paranormal Unearthed stopped
Oh,
in, said
Paranormal
hello.
Unearthed is here.
He
Wow, Anthony. So I'm not able to look on my YouTube, but I'm just on my Facebook. So if people are on that, I'm not seeing it. So thank you all for being
oh,
here.
go
And I want
yes.
to do a little shout out, because we've got, like we just said, paranormal. unearth. And he will be on the show on explaining the unexplainable. Him and Robert will be on next week's Tuesday night show, explaining the unexplainable with exorcist Bishop Joshua Sparks and I. And then tonight we have an amazing, Father um, Ken Torres, but he just said to go by Ken Torres. But he just had an incredible event called Nautical Nightmares. But I mean, he's worked with the Warrens and all those different people, and he's out in California. So he's been on explaining the unexplainable before, but he's going to be on tonight. So tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Then we've got the Unseen Realm with hosted by Archbishop Ronald File Enright, which Des and I are part of on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we invite you, Kayla, to listen in. You and your family listen in on that sometimes because it sounds scary, and spooky, and all. But I swear, we are talking about God all the time. Are we? We are. These people are amazing that are on here, and we are. It's just helping so many people, and I'm so honored to be a part of that. Let's see. I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know if there's
Kayla would
anything.
definitely fit right in. No,
Yeah,
she would.
Kayla. She'll be
Kayla,
like,
we could make you a moderator. You know, because
yeah. We should bring up, that should be a good question. What
sorry.
about the Satan prayer? What was it? The demon prayer?
No, well, it's the
No,
demon's
no,
fast when you are fasting,
Yeah.
but you're not praying. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
so I don't think we've ever talked about that on there. So that would be really great. And let's see, I don't think I'm leaving anything off.
Well, like I don't think it's
Anything else?
like a literal. It's just like because like and we were supposed to, when we're walking and in alignment, and if our body's a temple, we look at it as our body is a temple, and when we're fasting, we're depleting ourselves, our flesh, our desires, we're surrendering and in submission. So as Jesus described, it shows us our house, and builds, from the sweep our house out, cleans it, or whatnot, something. So if we're not praying, because with that we're supposed to put treasures, fill it with
Right.
love, like all of God, of heavenly things of God, the fruits of the Spirit. And so and I always think of worship and praise and the word, of reading scripture. And so we digest that. That's the food that we eat, spiritually. And so, yes. And just like how Kayla said, that's exactly how I spend that's how exactly how I eat. When I fast, how you said you spend time. Yeah, I sit at the table, and that's how, I share that bread and that living bread, and drink that living waters, with my relationship with Jesus and with God. So, absolutely, I could definitely relate. But so if you're not, because remember, even it says like, the demons in the Bible say, yo, they know Jesus. They know this, they know the apostle, but you, I don't know. You know what I mean? And as they're saying, and forgive me for not knowing the exact scripture and of here's where Joshua will come on in, but
Yeah, I
that's
know.
the
Yeah.
of my understanding, and please like sharpen me or correct me if I'm wrong. But so without doing that, and if you empty it out and you're not filling it with God, then who else, what spirit is filling your mind? Who are you thinking of if you don't have God first coming in? If there's not God that you're focusing on, then what it is? And the light, we won't focus about, sorry, don't mean to, but if I just may, these are okay, and I'm just a believer, okay? This is just like me. I'm a believer, and I follow Jesus. So this is why I'm speaking as I do. But as a believer and a follower of Jesus, there's many there's light. There's no denial. In the Bible, we hear about other false. We call them false gods or whatnot. And when we think about the false light that comes up from above, that foul that we hear about Job and everything else, and the beauty of whatnot, that's why it's important we know the true light, because there may be other lights that disguise themselves, and a liar is a lie, and a lie is a lie is a lie, no matter how you put it and dress it up. Once it's a lie, it's always a lie. It's very simple, just like that. You can't put enough sugar to make it, go down better or whatever. So anyhow, just to go with that, but so yes, so that's why it's good to know Jesus Christ. Sorry. Let me just like keep it different. It's just like there. I just had to share that. Remember, I was telling you, it just like pulls me.
Des, you're awesome. Thank you, Des, for sharing what you do. I just love you. And I
Thank
want to
you
make,
for me.
I do love you. And I love you too, Kayla. Kayla Khan, in the show. This has been so wonderful. I'm so
Has been.
thank you, God, so much. I want to have Kayla. I asked her ahead of time if she would please say our ending prayer for the show. So I think it's about that time. And again, Kayla, I want to invite you back again. You can come every week if you want, as far as we're concerned. You can just pop on. You'd be great. You think of a better person that is standing for everything I believe in, and thank you. God and country. God bless America.
God bless
Um,
America. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for
And
having me.
you're so welcome. And then I just want to make sure I said everything. So, and then be sure to check out her website. Des has got all that out there for us. You've been showing that. So thank you so much. Let's go ahead. Thank you to our audience. Let's go ahead and close in prayer, Kayla.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Thank you, God. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Dr. Adrian's going to be here next week with us. And maybe Kayla will pop in. Dr. Adrian will be here. And we know that's going to be an amazing show. Thank you, everybody. God bless everybody.
Thank
God
you.
bless you,
God
girls.
bless.
Yeah. Thanks.
Be a better you.